This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial, and if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace.
Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and I will be blunt. As a handheld capture tool on its own, that is, without regard to the lenses one might attach to it, I think it reasonable to assert that Sony's just announced $3,000 60-megapixel a7C R, I'll just say it, is functionally superior to every other high-resolution rangefinder-style mirrorless camera on the market, irrespective of price or megapixel count, save for color science, which I freely admit is a subjective thing. But when you then consider the best glass available in E-mount attached to the a7C R, the combination of and performance from its IBIS system, now rated at 7 steps up from 5 stops. Don't ask me about what the difference between steps and stops is, because I asked Sony, and as best I can tell, it's an E instead of an O, articulating rear screen, industry-leading autofocus, and it is basically impossible to conclude anything other than that for most use cases in the hands of all but a very, very few people, and I do not count myself among them, the a7C R at the margin will be able to extract more consistently from its 60-megapixel sensor than my Leica SL2 can from its 47.5 megapixels, Claudia's 60-megapixel Q3, Sigma's 60-megapixel FPL, even Hasselblad's 102-megapixel X2D, and Fujifilm's 102-megapixel GFX100 and GFX100S, although, right, these last two are not rangefinder-style cameras. No matter. You get the point. Then again, if you know me at all, your first question is likely to be, how is that even possible? Well, I just kind of told you. It's the unique balance of the camera topped with the best autofocus in the business, although you do have to pay attention. I choose my words carefully, and the words I used were functionally superior and at the margin. I did not mention the words inspiration or joy in the creative process, nor the impact of those on the final result, nor how many of us operate at the margin, that is the most extreme shooting conditions, how often. Your second question is likely to be, even if it is possible, even if it's true, is that the end of the story? To which the obvious answer can only be no, of course not. Let's get into it, although rest easy. My M11 and Claudia's Q3 aren't going anywhere. But my SL2? That's another story. We'll begin with a few details about the a7CR's componentry because this is the basis for answers to both questions. 1. The a7CR is essentially the same sensor and processors, that's right, plural, including Sony's dedicated AI chip for autofocus found in the a7R5 we already own, crammed into a lightly modified first-generation a7C body weighing in at just 515 grams including battery with, among other things, A slightly larger grip to accommodate the a7R5's higher capacity Z battery. Very good news. B, an extra function button on the rear fascia, which I set to magnify when using adapted manual focus M-glass. Hold that thought. C, an improved version of the stills video S&Q collar beneath the PASM dial, first found on the a7 IV, a camera we once owned. D, USB-C power delivery, yay, although I wish I had a second one just for that so you could stream without ever worrying about losing power. E, pixel shifting multi-shot super high resolution stills, though not usable for handheld shooting, boo. F, as I just mentioned, an improved IBIS system, also yay. G, an ever so slight update to the original a7C's miserly 0.39-inch 2.3 million dot XGA EVF, raising the original's 0.62 magnification, really miserly, to 0.7x for a 13% larger image, big whoop, rather than bringing over the notably larger, to my eye, 0.64-inch 0.9x magnification, 9.4 million dot QXGA resolution. Forget about the dots. So that's almost twice the resolution, but H, no update to the original C's million dot, call it VGA, articulating rear flippy screen, rather than the A7R5's marginally larger, marginally higher resolution, but clearly more useful vari-angle screen, a combination flippy and tilty configuration. I, no update to the original C's single UHS-2 card slot, although not a big deal in my book. Claudia and I get along fine with the single card slots in our M11 and Q3. And J, but without the A7R5's 8K video, which is also fine by me, and I suspect most other people at whom the A7CR is aimed. Up to 4K 60p full frame, 4K 60p HQ, that is 6.2K oversampled, and full HD 120p in Super 35 APS-C ought to be more than good enough. Of course, there's a whole bunch of additional video specs that most of us will never need either, or want for that matter, given the very small body with inherently less efficient thermal management than either the A7 IV or A7R5, and thus correspondingly shorter recording limits in the real world, which I did not bother to test because as far as I'm concerned, real man hybrids have active cooling. Just saying. 2. Net. The A7CR is the smallest, most complete, most performant, full-frame, interchangeable lens, mirrorless camera on the market. 3. This is where that componentry gets really interesting because A, on the basis of its size, resolution, and unobtrusiveness, you really could consider the A7CR a one-third the price, autofocusing EVF IBIS and articulating rear screen equipped, credible alternative to my $9,000 Leica M11. Full stop. Yes, I said that out loud. B, on the basis of its size, autofocus, IBIS, resolution, interchangeable lens, and hybrid bona fides, you might consider it a smaller, lighter, less than half the price, higher resolution, articulating rear screen equipped, more autofocus performant alternative to my $7,000 47.5 megapixel Leica SL2. Yes, I said that out loud too. C, on the basis of its size, IBIS, resolution, autofocus, and interchangeable lenses, you might consider the A7CR, this is perhaps most interesting of all, a more autofocus performant, more flexible alternative to, at somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 the price, depending on what lens you choose to use with it, Claudia's $6,000 60 megapixel fixed lens Leica Q3, a camera I regard as a new industry benchmark for performance and joy. D, the A7CR is, on the other hand, absolutely a marginally smaller and lighter, IBIS equipped, articulating rear screen equipped, autofocus competent, Sigma FPL killer, which pains me to say because I really like Sigma and the FPL was so promising at launch just 2.5 years ago. E, it is even, at just a smidgen more than one-third the price before considering glass, a smaller, lighter, autofocus competent, and credible alternative to Hasselblad's $8,200 102 megapixel medium format X2D. But as I said, this is all before any serious consideration of lenses, because once one does consider them, the A7CR becomes an even better value by dint of the breadth, depth, performance, and openness of the Sony E-mount system, total system size, weight, autofocus performance, and cost per unit of lens image quality, which really is just another way of saying that the image quality of the best Sony lenses comes so close to that of the best lenses from Leica and Hasselblad that they are indistinguishable, really, for most of us, especially those of us who never print Mongo or crop the crap out of images. In other words, 99% of us, 99% of the time. Let's move on, because 4, Sony also announced the $2,000-ish 33 megapixel A7C II. This is essentially the sensor and processors, again plural, of the A7 non-R4, crammed into the updated A7CR's body I just described to you, including the dedicated AI chip from the A7R5, which means the A7C II is capable of up to 4K 30p full pixel readout with no pixel binning, 7K oversampling up to 4K 60p and full HD 120p in Super 35 APS-C mode. 5, the most intriguing scenario for the Mark II just might be as a complement to a Leica M11 or Q3 owner. Hold that thought too. Finally, back to mere mortal considerations. 6, either A7C variant may make more sense for some of us than the larger cameras from whence they came, but for others among us, not so much. We'll come back to this as well. Although there is a catch to all of this, so let's go there. The one catch I'm talking about, and I'm sure many of you knew this at the outset or have since picked up on it, is the a7C shooting experience. From one of the tiniest, lowest resolution, lowest magnification, poorest eye relief EVFs currently on the market, to a low resolution flippy screen, overall industrial design, and a menu system only a mother could love. Although, to be fair, many sports, wildlife, or event shooting pros would simply get over it and master these cameras because the performance and lens selection are worth it. So many of them already have. And I'm used to being a statistical outlier, so you may not agree with me, and that's okay. I find the gestalt of these second-generation A7C variants somewhere between uninspiring and exasperating, a missed opportunity to commit even more fully to what the original A7C's cleaner, minimalist design at least intimated. As a result, if you're at all like me, there simply is no comparison to our Leicas or the Hassi when it comes to feel in hand, peering through the viewfinder, joy of shooting, inspiration, menu system, ease of use. Yeah, the Hasselblad's X2D autofocus is still not ready for prime time for most use cases, but you get the idea. At the end of the day, from where I sit, the A7C is first and foremost a tool. Our Leicas or Hasselblad, a companion. But what does all of this mean for you? I think this is what it means, although I look forward to reading your comments below. First, A, if you truly want, or more importantly, truly need the highest resolution possible, either because you crop the crap out of an image or print your images at such large sizes and invite your audience to view them at much closer than normal viewing distances. B, you truly need high-performance autofocus because of your métier or subject matter. C, you truly need the smallest package possible. D, you are budget constrained to the point that even hundreds of dollars might make a difference to you. Yet E, you do have the budget for this not inexpensive camera and somewhere between really, really good and the very best glass to go with it. And F, you can get over the A7RC's experiential weaknesses or simply don't experience them as weaknesses at all. Then, bottom line, the A7CR is utterly compelling. It has no real competition. Pre-order it immediately before there is a backlog, and I anticipate there will be a significant backlog within days of going on sale over the next few weeks. Second, if you meet all of the conditions in this first scenario, except for budget constraints, as in you don't really have any, the A7CR may still be compelling. Think EVF, IBIS, articulating screen, and autofocusing equipped M11 as I suggested above, for example, or a more flexible interchangeable lens, Q3. If that works for you, if you don't care about Leica or Hasselblad industrial design, heritage, you know the drill. Again, pre-order an A7CR immediately and use the thousands upon thousands of dollars you save over the price of a Q3, SL2, X2D, or M11 to buy glass, a couple of round-trip tickets to Japan for the off-season, accelerate your funding of the kids' college fund, any or all of the above. You get the idea. Do not invest in crypto. That is a system built entirely, when all is said and done, on the greater fool theory. Third, if you meet all of the conditions in the first scenario, save for an inability to get over the experiential issues, and your budget can't, or you simply choose not to stretch to Leica or Hasselblad, I understand, I'd say find the extra $900 or so to buy an A7R5 and suck up the marginally larger size and greater weight over the A7CR. The EVF is the best in the business. The rear vari-angle screen is much better than the one on any A7C. The ergos are notably better than on any A7C because there's more room for your fingers to spread out more naturally. The controls better laid out for them. And you have the option of 8K video if you want it. Superior thermal management for video at any resolution, whether you want it or not. Fourth, but if you do have the budget, if the experience does matter to you, if you want the best ergonomics, an excellent menu system, outstanding optics, IP52 rating, somewhere between solid and excellent autofocus for street travel documentary, if you do most of your shooting between 28 and 50 millimeter full frame, only occasionally going as narrow as a 75 or 90 millimeter field of view, if inspiration matters to you, the joy of industrial design in and of itself matters to you, if the feel in hand matters to you, I suggest you take a very close look at the Leica Q3 and order it right now because the backlog is already insane. Oh, and by the way, the results are outstanding. Or perhaps explore a used Leica Q2 or Q2 monochrome. If 47.5 megapixels, a 3.7 million dot EVF, and no articulating screen will do. And hint, for many of us contemplating either one, yes, they will, but maybe. Also pre-order immediately an a7C II, so that when and if you do feel the need to go long, you've got the Sony lens ecosystem at your beck and call. As brilliant as the Q3 is, for example, the difference between an 8 or 9 megapixel crop to get to a 90mm field of view on the Q3 versus having a full 33 megapixels with an actual 90mm lens on the a7C II is dramatic. Again, if you print Mongo enough and invite your audience to view your images at closer than normal viewing distances. Fifth, right, let's talk a bit more about the a7C II. If you meet all of the conditions in the first scenario, save for wanting a high-resolution sensor, pocket the $1,000 difference over the a7CR or the couple of $100 difference over the a7 IV, and say it with me now, pre-order the a7C II immediately before it becomes a backlog nightmare too, and I think it will. It will have better autofocus than the a7 IV, courtesy of the dedicated AI processor, and as I just said, it will cost a couple of $100 less, although the price becomes about the same if you add in the optional grip, which is standard on the a7CR, by the way, which I found made a significant difference in handling, especially with larger or heavier glass. But if the a7C II's EVF does bother you, if the ergos bother you, and you conclude the a7 IV's autofocus is good enough, which it probably is for what? I don't know, say 95% of us, 99% of the time, I'd say go for the a7 IV instead for the EVF and the improved ergos. Most especially the ergos in that small screen on the a7C twins will really be disappointing to many photographers, especially those of you at all like me. Let's talk about lenses for the a7C series. If you want a 33 megapixel a7C II or 60 megapixel a7CR, let's stipulate that you care about excellent image quality in as small and lightweight a package as possible. You will therefore want your lenses to comport with those same priorities. I'm a primes kind of guy for that very reason. All else being equal, primes are smaller, faster, sharper, and better corrected than zooms, and I like prime trios, spaced far enough apart, yet not so far apart, that I can use sensor resolution to plug the gaps. Think Sony's 550 a pop, give or take, 24mm f2.8G, either their 40 or 50mm f2G, and their 85 1.8. The Gs are tiny, tasty, fast, and silent. The 85 1.8 not far behind. Or think Sigma's jewel-like 650 a pop, 24 f2, 50 f2, and 92.8 DGDN I series. I really like these lenses and have a pile of them in L mount, great on my SL2. As soon as you step beyond these two lens lines in particular, in either direction, you either give up on image quality, industrial design, or the siren call of small, light, unobtrusive, and relatively affordable. But hey, I get it. Best of the best. Think Sony 24-1.4, 51.4, and 135 1.8 G Master primes. Oh baby, 51.2 G Master if you must. If you want to go flexible and lower total size, weight, and price, think Sony's 24-70 2.8 G Master 2. We own one, and it is the smallest, lightest, sharpest 24-70 I've ever used. Or take a good hard look at Sigma's bigger, heavier, but definitely in the same ballpark optically as the Sony for less than half the price. It is a killer value. If you want to go even more flexible and even smaller, lighter, and less expensive, you owe it to yourself to check out Sony's 20-70 f4. That's right, 20, not 24, and yes, f4, not f2.8. I've shot with it too, and it is incredible at the price. What I wouldn't do is use either camera as I thought I might, a not-so-poor man's Leica M with adapted manual focus only M-mount glass. You'd almost certainly want a better EVF, but then again, I say this from the vantage point of someone who has spent way too much time in front of a screen writing, editing, or especially these last couple of years binge-watching TV. I am back in denial mode, aren't I? In any event, from where I sit, the a7C series is not remotely a substitute for Leica M or any other made in Germany Leica shooting experience. Not close. Then again, what would you expect given the price disparity? You actually do get what you pay for. You just have to be clear about what that what is. There are, of course, many, many more lens options out there, but I think my suggestions are a great place to start. Just remember that the best and highest use for these next generation a7Cs is as tiny autofocusing beasts using the latest, highest performance lenses one can muster at a size that will work for you. If you find yourself gravitating toward bigger lenses, you might want to move to bigger bodies like the a7 IV and a7R5 too, because again, if you're like me, you'll find them to be a better fit. With all of that said, I should say this, even though I can't imagine that any of you watching this far into the video don't already know it. You don't need a Sony or a Leica or a Hasselblad. You don't even need a dedicated camera to create wonderful photographs. You do need you. So work on that most of all. Find and hone your artistic voice, your craftsmanship, your facility with the gear and the software, and don't let anyone shame you into buying more than you need or can afford. But whichever way you decide to go, and in spite of my personal disappointment that these new a7C variants do not arrive with the EVF I think the sensor deserves, nor the refined ergos for which I'd hoped, in spite of the fact that I place the experience of shooting at or near the top of my list of priorities, and fortunately I can afford it, I'm guessing there is almost no scenario where this new series won't be a monster hit, a triumph of performance, lens selection, and value, results from function, in other words, over process and experience. You have to hand it to Sony. They figured out how to do this while simultaneously improving their own financials, not only by creating new products from existing assets, but by then amortizing R&D, tooling costs, marketing, you get the idea, over higher unit volumes. For a couple of days, I even considered picking up an a7C II myself as a complement to my M11 or a second Q3 if I can get one in time for a few upcoming trips and workshops. Maybe an a7CR in place of the Q3 if I can't. But then I remembered I already own an a7R5. I can be patient, and while it is notably bigger and heavier than any a7C variant, it's not that much bigger and heavier. It better suits my eye and hand anyway, and it is still significantly smaller than my SL2, which I am selling to help fund that Q3 purchase, yes, through KEH, but that's just me. Your mileage may vary, and that's okay. And these are way beyond first world problems anyway. Yeah. Let's not forget that.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes, e-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling, Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 6 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join the conversation in the comment section below because this is an exceptional audience. If you'd like help with a portfolio review, gear selection, finding or honing your artistic voice, sign up for a one-on-one mentoring video call via Zoom at 3bmep.com/booking. Finally, please consider supporting our work by using the no-cost You affiliate links down below, sending us coffee money via PayPal, or most especially, joining us on Patreon, links down below as well. However you choose to support us, as always, we thank you for it.